One of the last vestiges of India's colonial past is finally gone. More than 150 years after it was first introduced by the British in 1861.
I felt like crying, I'll be honest with you. I felt like somersaulting and jumping, and if they would have permitted me, I would have gone up and given a flying kiss to every one of those judges.
I was flooded with calls from young people, 18, 19, 20, who couldn't believe that they had been given liberation.
A World Bank report in 2014 showed that 41% of Indians would not want a homosexual neighbour, and 64% believe that homosexuality cannot be justified. How did the historic ruling find resonance in a diverse and largely conservative society like India? Will it change the social attitudes and put an end to decades of harassment, bullying and discrimination against the LGBT community in the country?
The court is there to assert that the Constitution applies to minorities and that it protects minorities, even when majorities may not agree.
The judgment lifted a veil of darkness, enveloping the lives of millions who have lived with humiliation and torture for decades. Manoj grew up in a quaint Himalayan town.
It's a co-ed school, and generally I never sit with the boys. Because I sit with the girl, I play with the girls 24/7. About the sexuality, about my gender identity, I never understand that thing. Because no any education, and this time period, no any internet and globalization.
His nightmare started when Manoj, barely out of teens, was coming back home in an auto rickshaw at night after attending a wedding. The three-wheeler driver took Manoj to a lonely spot where 3 policemen were waiting to pounce on him.
They tightly hold my hand, and the other one turned off my clothes and all, and he started penetrating. All these 3 policemen, they gang raped me.
He spoke to a lawyer who said if Manoj tried to file a complaint against the police, he would be sent to prison. The gang rape, blackmail and torture went on for 1.5 years. The policemen kept calling the young man on his mobile and telling him to meet them at lonely spots. They would threaten him that he would be booked under Section 377 if he refused.
One day I thought, okay, my life is going the hell this way, so what to do? Because I'm not able to talk with my parents, I'm not able to talk with anyone. So I thought it's better to suicide. So I take pesticides, and with water I take it at home.
He was saved by his sister, who rushed him to hospital.
We realized there was a lot of blackmail against gay men, a lot of assaults against gay men because 377 existed. And it was by dating partners, it was by the police, and even family members who wanted to convert gay men into straight men through electric convulsion therapy. So 377 allowed the violence to go on, and no remedies were available.
Just because of 377 is not coming to us. Now, even the police, now even the gundas and all, they will not harass to anyone.
Despite the landmark ruling, experts believe it will take a long time for the society as a whole to get rid of homophobia and accept that LGBT community as equal members of society.
You can't change the mindset of the society by using hammer of law. This is very against culture and the heritage and religious values of this country.
But the political parties have taken a more nuanced line.
I think that political parties are very clear that India is a young country. The Indian voter is now by and large a young voter, and Indian voters are looking for India to play a role on the global stage, and that includes taking a leadership position when it comes to rights.
Kitty Sue is the country's first inclusive and LGBTIQ nightclub where gays to lesbians to drag queens can express themselves freely without any fear of humiliation or harassment. The man behind the audacious and perhaps revolutionary concept is multi-millionaire hotelier Keshav Suri. 33-year-old Suri, who owns the luxury hotel chain The Lalit, is also unabashedly gay and doesn't shy away from openly displaying his sexual preferences.
My business is accepting, my board is accepting. I am in a position where I can, walk into the room wearing this and people are not going to be like, oh, he needs to rub his sexuality on my sleeve. I am luckier than a lot of people out there, not just in India, but across the world. My family is accepting. What made me decide to wake up and be like, something needs to be done was the 2013 judgment when the two-bench Supreme Court said, the two judges had said that who are these LGBTQ people? They don't exist in India. It's too minuscule a minority for us to really be bothered about.
Suri has put his money where his mouth is by leading from the front and employing LGBT members throughout his hotel chain. Not only has he helped acid attack victims with their medical expenses and offered them jobs, he has also rehabilitated and counseled about 100 queer people to help live their lives with dignity.
Do sponsorships, work with people, give opportunities to people, do LGBTQ nights at Kirisu, bring this culture of drag, which is cross-dressing, a massive part of the Indian community, bring that culture back, what was in ancient India.
But the ruling by India's highest court could also open doors for the LGBTQ community to push for a broader range of rights and legal reforms. Will that ever happen in India? Where will the LGBT movement go from here?
We have seen in the West, in countries such as the US and the UK, once same-sex desire was decriminalized, once homosexuality was decriminalized, many activists quickly moved on to marriage, then to adoption and inheritance, and these then became the next big focal points for the movement. In my opinion, it is far more important to ensure and kind of affirm the more mundane sounding rights, that of job, that of anti-discrimination, that of education, that of healthcare, that the rest of the population can take for granted, but are still not given to many, many LGBT people.
Maybe one day we will be able to be saying that, we're married here. Maybe one day we'll be able to have children. Maybe one day, we don't have to live in that fear that if one of us falls sick in India, that the other one will not be allowed to see them. How do you explain to a doctor that I am your partner, I am your husband, I am your wife if I'm sick? How do you explain to a doctor that the family has disowned this person and I'm the only one person there?
What is certain for now is that the weight of criminality has been lifted from those who had been living under the shadow of fear for decades.